Our next trainer coming up is Mr. Avinash Tavares, who is a practitioner of human behavior and modern psychology and is on a quest to explore the unlimited potential of the human mind. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome on board this flight, Mr. Avinash Tavares.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My session today is about how to read anyone like a book. Okay, so I dedicate this session to my mother because she's the one who introduced me to this concept. She didn't do anything much. It's just when I was young, every time I would lie to her, she would be able to catch it just like that. And I always used to wonder like how she used to do it, how she could tell whether I was telling a lie, whether I was hiding something from her. It is just when as I was growing, when in my teenage years, did I realize that I was giving her cues or I was giving her signals which she would catch. She never told me this. And after that, I went deeper into the subject, and that's when I picked up the skills which were required to read people. It was a challenge, nonetheless, and I'm here to share with you some of the ideas and, first of all, the challenges, and then the ideas of how y'all can read people better. So, what's the challenge? Well, a couple of days back when I downloaded this picture, with all the knowledge and skill that I have over the years that I learned, I looked at her and said, wow, she has great legs. So, I know some of y'all also must be thinking the same thing. The first challenge in reading people is the distractions. And of course, some of y'all must have noticed the gentleman, and some of y'all must have noticed Sherlock Holmes, and he's saying something. Sherlock Holmes, in one of his books, The Red-Headed League, have you read that book? It's a fantastic book which he meets a client. His name is Mr. Wilson. So the first time he meets him, Sherlock looks to his trusted assistant, Mr. Watson, and says, you know, this man, he's been working, he has done some kind of manual labor before. He is a member of the Freemasons. He does snuff, that is, smokes tobacco. He has also been in China, and he has done some kind of writing lately. So Mr. Wilson, the client, looks at him and says, how in good Lord did you know all these things? Apart from the obvious, he says, Sherlock Holmes says to him, you know, your right hand is slightly bigger than your left. It means that your muscles are more developed. So it only implies that you have done a lot of manual labor sometime. Your fingers are a little dirty or black, as well as your nose, which implies a snuff. You have a pin of an arc and a compass, which implies that you are a member of the Freemason order. He goes on to say that you have a tattoo of a fish on your wrist. But what's peculiar is the pink color of the scales, which suggests that, which is a particular style only in China at the time the book was written, obviously. And then he further goes on to say that your right sleeve, your right cuff is nice and polished, whereas your left one has a little brown patch here, which suggests that you've been keeping on a desk and writing for a long time. Then Mr. Wilson says, oh, that's it? I thought it would be something very clever. It's nothing after all. Sherlock Holmes looks at his trusted assistant, Mr. Watson, and says, you know, I think I'm doing a mistake explaining. Omne ignotum pro magnifico. That is, unknown is magnificent. So, and he goes on to say, if I do this, my little reputation, as fragile as it is, will suffer candid if I keep on doing this. Will suffer shipwreck if I am so candid. Today I'll be a little candid with you, though. I will share with you some of these things which I don't normally do because of the obviousness of it. But nonetheless, it's like, for people who don't know, comes across a magic trick. If you look at this picture, what can you say about this picture? You know, you look at him and you say, okay, he's a gentleman, and they're both talking, very obvious. If you go a little deeper, like Holmes, you will notice that he's wearing a new shirt. How do you notice new shirts always have a stiff collar? His key is hanging, and it has a remote control, which suggests he's probably driving an expensive car, and he wants to show it off, that's why he's hanging it there. He's probably met her the first time in a setting which may be a party or an evening. How do I know it's an evening thing? Because that's when you wear black most of the time. He's met her for the first time, trying to impress her. She is very interesting. She's wearing a nice cocktail dress. What's interesting is I've never seen this 2 days back I downloaded. She's not wearing any accessories like necklaces or bracelets or anything. Many theories can be that. Maybe their culture, they don't wear it. Or maybe that she was leaving in a hurry for this meeting or for a date or for party, whatever it is, and she didn't get time to put it on. Their posture is interesting. They are moving slightly away from each other, but they are leaning into each other. He has his fingers crossed. She has her legs crossed. In a science called NLP, it's usually a sign that they have very good rapport. His mouth is slightly open, means he's saying something. At the same time, she's touching his shoulder. Why she's touching his shoulder, who knows? Probably she's adjusting her hair, adjusting her strap, or she's just scratching her shoulder. But what's interesting is that while she did it, she probably brought his attention. Now, this is all deductions. Maybe something distracted him. But usually what happens is when somebody does this, your attention goes there, and he must have felt awkward, and he turned his eyes away. He didn't turn his full face away. He turned his eyes away. But he's still facing her. You can tell so much from a picture. Now, these are just theories. This is not, the way you do it is you come up with a theory, and then you build on the facts that you get, whether to prove the theory is right or wrong. That's how you read people. Eventually, more information will come if this was a moving picture, but since it is not, I am just presenting certain facts and bringing it to your attention. Now, how did I start off with this? Many books that I've read, but three main people have helped. The books that I've read of these people have inspired me, and I've learned a lot from them. So I'll introduce to you these three gentlemen. The first one is Richard Bandler. He's invented something called neuro-linguistic programming. It's a vast topic. I won't be going into details of it, but the most significant discoveries that he did were this eye accessing cues. You'll see it in a demonstration video I'll show you later on. But what it basically says is that when he noticed people, studied people, and he noticed that when people remember a picture, their eyes tend to turn towards the top left. When he remembers, when anybody creates a picture, daydreaming, they look top right. When they remember a sound or song or dialogue or anything audio, they look to the left side. When they when they're creating an audio, they look towards the right. And when they're feeling something, they look down, or when they're talking to themselves. How is this happening? The science is too vast to explain in this session. But nonetheless, it does happen. The only thing is in case of left-handed people, this is for right-handed people. Left-handed people, the whole thing is flipped. So Richard Bandler was one of the guys that inspired me, and he's the creator of neuro-linguistic programming. The second guy is Eric Berne. In his model of psychology called transactional analysis, he comes up with the concept of games. Now, we play games with each other every day, he says. Some of the games people play with you are probably, I'm all alone, or I never have enough money. They keep on talking about it in various ways, but they want sympathy in a certain ways. Some of them will play a game is, look at me, look at the clothes that I wear. So they will say, oh, I went today and went for shopping and I brought this beautiful thing and blah, blah, blah. And then what do? You just sit there and you entertain them. You participate in the game that they play with you. You yourself will be playing games with other people. One of my favorite game is coming to the point. So I'll come to the point and I'll move on to the next one. This gentleman is Paul Eichmann. He's created something called facial action coding system. He studied cultures, various cultures across the world, and seen the common traits, common facial expressions across all people everywhere. And what he discovered is there are basic emotions, and there are certain muscles that move for this emotion. Again, very vast, complicated subject. But for us that are normal people, we can recognize these emotions, right? What is this one? I'm sorry? The first one, it's anger. Anger is when there are different degrees of that emotion, but generally anger, you go, your lips press, your eyebrows, this thing, there's a triangle. He describes the way it moves when you get angry. This one, second one, this is fear. Eyebrows rise up, muscles come all the way back. The next one, disgust, correct. Your nose muscles, they go up, your lips go up, and it's a sign of disgust. There are various levels, again, some of them will just do, and some of them will go a little extreme, like they'll do. So, the next one, which one is this? Surprise, that's very easy. The next one, happiness. The next will be sadness. We all know the lips go down, the eyes go down. Happiness is an interesting thing, especially because we are tuned to recognize fake happiness from real happiness. Models are tuned to pretend to be really happy. How do they do that? Most of all, when you give a fake smile, you go, but some of them, the models will, when a real smile, your bones go up. And that's how that's how they're trained to be happy, especially in parents and on stage. Of course, sadness is obvious. What is the last one? Last one is contempt. Contempt is like, we normally, in India, we do, like, what are you doing? You press one side of your lip together. It's a kind of a sign of moral superiority over other people. There are other emotions that he's added later on. He's added pleasure, he's added embarrassment, contentment, a lot of new emotions that he's added, not necessarily having muscle movements for it. But what he did is he's also come up with set and met. That is subtle expression training tool, and there's a micro expression training tool. What are subtle expression? What are micro expressions? We all heard these words before. But just technical definition, subtle micro expressions are expressions that leak out when you're trying to hide an emotion. So when you're telling a lie, the sudden fear that comes, it leaks out. Those are the subtle expressions. Sorry, micro expressions. Subtle expressions come out when the person is just about to experience an emotion. He might not even be aware experiencing the emotion. So those are the subtle emotions that you can detect. They're so subtle that it does require a training. So that's why he's invented this TT is a training tool for that, which you can download and use. So coming to the next slide. I'll give you a demonstration of this, and this is a classic video of A. Raja's interview after his scam. So can you just play it? Just click this. Yeah, press it.
He's one of the most controversial
we
figures
had to create a baseline body language for it. He's all nervous, his hands are flinching. He doesn't know how to sit. A first sign that he's very nervous. This requires experience to do that.
He's speaking to
covering his lips, a little defensive at first. He doesn't want to say too much.
My first question to you: you're going into this election with the huge 2G taint. How are you planning to explain this to your voters, and do you believe your voters are going to stand by you?
See the eyes, the way they move. They'll move side and they'll move up. I'll explain why they do that.
To the JPC also.
Just
of course,
move the mouse.
So far as the court is concerned, judgment has to come. Prosecution evidence that has been closed. But even as per the evidence that came in on record, no evidence has come out against me. Two things are very essential for under the Prevention of Corruption Act. One is whether the public servant accumulated wealth, or there is exchequer loss.
You see, slight eyes move towards the right every time.
Out of the order of the minister or the public servant, any third person is benefited or not. I will come to later.
And his slight smile that he gives.
Whether the public servant or a minister accumulated wealth or there is exchequer loss, there is a clear answer by the CBI investigating officer.
Now this is where his micro expressions come out.
That there is no DA case. In spite of the combined investigation that has been done by the ED, Income Tax and the CBI. Evidence is on record. I'm not telling lie.
See,
evidence is on record. I'm not telling lie. Evidence is on record. I'm not telling lie. Second thing is...
Okay, and then it'll go on, don't worry. It goes on. It's not going? Okay, not a problem. Okay,
Finance Secretary, Mr. Subbarao, deposed evidence before the court. As per the policy, in the spectrum allocation, there is no exchequer loss. So two things are very clear. There is no exchequer loss to the government. There is no illegal wealth with Raja. In spite of that, people are telling that there is a big case. There is a scam. My answer is the entire 2G trial, 2G case is non-honest. Had it been defended properly before the court,
this is something that he's prepared. The confidence that he has now, he didn't have earlier on.
The entire case should not have come into existence.
Now, if you're saying that the entire 2G case is non-est, you're basically saying, and that it was not defended properly by the government, you're basically saying that the UPA, the Congress government at the center, in fact, let you down.
Okay, till now what has happened? He started off all nervous, everything. He didn't have a baseline. The baseline is a normal body language that you display to anybody, especially when you're confident enough. He looks to his right every time, not because he's lying. When you look to your right, you're normally constructing audio. I mentioned that earlier. May or may not be because he's lying, but definitely he's translating his brain language, that is the language you speak in your mind, to English. And that's when you got to look. What you're going to say, you're going to construct it and speak. We all do this. It's very quick, but the subtle micro expressions give it away. That's the eye extension cues. You notice when he said, "I'm not telling lies." Why would somebody say, "I'm not telling lies"? Why didn't he say, "I'm telling the truth"? Why is he presuming that there is already an accusation of a lie? Those are the questions we ask ourselves while we are reading this. Still further, when he says that when his speech ends, he looks up. Why does he look up? Many reasons. Maybe stressed out, but what I think the most likelihood is that he is trying to visualize the person who told him what to say next, or he's visualizing what he read. Maybe as a photographic memory or something. So when you look up, you're kind of remembering the picture of something. Maybe the person who spoke to you, who coached you, or maybe something that you have written. And now, further on the video, you notice his baseline. He's very confident. This is the part that he's prepared almost like a lawyer. See his expressions.
Exactly letting down, but it must be very fair to say that the issues that are being enumerated in the charge sheet by the CBI are the issues that have been contemplated in the CAG report were not properly appraised.
His speed of speaking, his emphasized, he's a little angry at this time.
Why do you
he's
think
displaying that slight anger towards fine microexpression. Can we got the way he presses his lips
you've constantly been saying that the finance minister Chidambaram as well as the prime minister need to be questioned on this. You have even spoken to the JPC. You've invited their version.
Let us be a little bit detailed.
Can you see his lips being pressed a little harder than before?
The corporate sector in the telecom field gave a unwritten note to the Prime Minister's office, including the spectrum action and how subscriber criteria can be devised. All these things, an unsigned note was given to the Prime Minister.
So this is interesting, right? I mean, this kind of learnings, this kind of technology, as I call it, discoveries, they help us view things very differently. One thing I told you is eye accessing cues, very clear, when he remembers things, when he creates dialogue, testing, when he remembers things, when he creates dialogue, it's quite obvious. His micro expressions come out every time he's trying to tell a lie or trying to deceive, as well as the time when he's trying to ridicule the question. That's what the smile is. So I have explained the eye accessing cues, I explained the micro expressions. The third is the games that he's playing with her and with the audience. One of the games he's playing is it such a small issue? Why take so seriously? That's the smile that's coming out. It's a serious interview. If he was innocent or if he was his baseline, he would not be smiling all the time. The other game he's playing with the reporter is, why you blame me? There were others. Why don't you question them? So whatever he says is an implication of that. So that's another way of telling a lie. It wasn't me. There's a book by Paul Eichmann, in fact, on telling lies. And all this is clearly mentioned, based on research, obviously. And so these are the three basic steps that I follow. But what I did is I still broke it further into 12 steps. Now, fortunately, because there's a video, you can view it. And I'll also be putting the script up so you can read it. this is something that I have developed in a sense by learning it. It's through experience. It's not something that's not something new, but it's something that I developed. So I will start off with these 12 steps. The first, what I do, I check the accessories, their clothes, their nails. This is for creating a map. This is for creating a map of their behavior, so that I know what the history of their personality characteristics, and just like what Sherlock Holmes did. The second thing I do is start with a baseline. Now, how do you make a baseline? Is by observing the person over a duration of time. You kind of build a structure or a description of his personality, character, etc. And you continuously build on it. You don't say, "Now I know him completely." You might not meet him for 10 days. He might have experience. He might change. And again, you got to learn about him. So we do not judge people the way just by one meeting. It's a continuous process. The third is you start by asking innocent questions. A simple question is like, "How are you doing today?" A salesman would ask this to figure out a baseline, so that he can later on create a setup for more probing questions. So building a baseline is the third step. The fourth, look for inconsistencies between the baseline and the person's expressions. The fifth step is check for consistency between micro expressions and the macro expressions. For example, if you just meet somebody, he'll be like, and he'll want to hello you. So the micro expression suggests that, "Oh, I'm caught. I was on a date." And then to cover it up, he will try a macro expression that is, "Oh, so meet you," etc. The next step is when you have a chance to ask questions, that is, if you get a chance to ask questions, I normally would ask direct questions, not vague ones, because vague questions give an opportunity for people to ramble along and it becomes difficult to get a baseline. For example, if you are supposed to meet somebody and that person is late, or rather doesn't show up, for example, and you meet him the next day and you say, "Why didn't you come? You're supposed to meet." He will say one of the three things. "I couldn't make it." And you stop there. He'll say, "My wife took me for shopping." And then he won't say anything else. Third is he'll say, "I was supposed to come, but last minute my wife stopped me. She reminded me that I was supposed to take her for shopping, and then I took her. I thought I would be able to make it. But after the time went on, by the time I reached home, I was all tired. I couldn't call you, and I couldn't make it." These three answers is true. You never know. You have to compare it to the baseline. If that person talks less, probably the first one is true. If he's used to explaining and rambling, probably the third one is true. So baseline is very important. There's no hard and fast rule of what is the truth and what is the lie. The next is word choice provides insights into what people really mean. For example, I won another award. What it means is the person is trying to tell you that he has won many awards before. Why is he doing that? Probably he wants you to praise him or recognize him. That will build up his esteem. Certain people use this vulnerability of ours and flatter us even more. So we got to be careful as well. But while reading people, it's handy. Suppose somebody likes flattery, I will flatter him. Why not? What is there to make him happy? The next is, this is a little higher level now. These are the first 7 steps. A little higher level, intermediate level would be identifying their values and beliefs. I'm not talking about values and beliefs in their definition. I'm talking about the Tony Robbins. He's described it very well. Values, for example, person has value for money, he has value for his family, he has value for his job. I will want to know what beliefs are there. Does this money is the root of all evil, then I will never talk money with him because he already discouraged me about it. If that fellow believes that you must stick to your job, get a second job, I will not discuss entrepreneurship with him. So I go to see what their values are and what their beliefs are. The next thing would be identifying the motivational drivers. When I work with a vendor, I need to know any vendor who is providing a service or a product. I will want to know whether he will deliver it on time. Now there are two kinds of people. One that will wait till the last minute and do it till the end and deliver on time. Those are the moving away from people. They try to move away from the pain of not delivering on time. And there are other people who will do it on time and will be happy to give it to you and I will pay them on time just to reinforce the pleasure that he gets by giving it on time. So moving away, moving towards. This is one of the key things that I always look out in people. The advanced steps. Identify their decision-making structure. How do people make decisions? my mother and my girlfriend. If I go with either one for shopping, my mother will take me to a shop and then I just have to be standing there. She'll pick the clothes she wants. She'll probably even remove the money to pay for it. And then she'll ask me, is this good? What should I say? Yes, it's good. Great. She's already made a decision. She just wants me to reinforce her decision. My girlfriend will do a little differently. She's a little money conscious, so she'll take 5 dresses and then she'll say, which one is good now? Now, trust me guys, any answer is the wrong answer. So, so what do? What I do is, because I know her decision-making strategy, I tell, why don't you just try one at a time. So she'll pick the first dress, she'll go try it out, she'll pick the second dress, she'll try it out. By the time, I already know what decision she's made. It's very easy, because in her case, the first dress she picks up is the one that she subconsciously or consciously, I don't know what it is, but the one that she likes. That's why she takes that as the first one. So by the time she wears it, I know, okay, that's the choice. I just have to wait as a formality for the rest of the 5 and I say, no, the first one is nice. So you got to know people's decision-making strategies, what and how they make decisions, and that's how you'll get to know them better. The next is identifying their meta programs. Now this is an NLP concept. I've already briefly spoken about visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Visual is people make images in their mind, auditory is people talk to themselves, kinesthetic is people have feelings. All of us do all 3. We all make pictures, we all talk to ourselves, and we all have feelings. But each one of us has a certain dominant characteristics. So some people, if I say, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great ball, some people are going to imagine Humpty Dumpty as I said it and imagine a big ball in front of them. Other people are going to say, there's something wrong with this poem, what did you do? Or why did you say it like that? And some people are going to have a certain feeling that, oh, this is weird, the poem, what he said. They're going to have a feeling in their chest or their head, and they may even get a headache over some time, because I said it wrong. So the first kind of people are visual. Whatever I say, they're going to make pictures, and they're going to imagine the things. Second kind of people are the ones who are going to listen, talk to themselves. Third are the type of people who are going to associate feelings with everything they do. Our education system is based on auditory representative system. That is why we read, we by heart, we learn, we speak. Very bad for students who are visual. And then we say, why you are daydreaming in class? He's visual, whatever you say, he's going to imagine. So the moment he looks up, the teacher says, you're daydreaming. So you understand, the education system needs to understand these concepts. And the next one is identifying, that is the last one, that is identifying the games that people play. What games do people play with you? How many of you have people who play the my life is a mess, help me out, or feel sorry for me? We all play games. In fact, I had gone with my friend for to collect some RTI. You know, he had applied for RTI suspecting a scam, so we had gone to collect the information. And we didn't know whether there was a scam or who was involved, but what is interesting is the moment we went, the director of the department, government department, called us into his office, and he sent the peon to call us. I looked at the peon and I said, see, we have just come to collect the information. Whether I know that he would want to explain the scheme and all that stuff, but I don't want to meet him, because eventually we will have to meet him in the first appeal. I didn't want to play his game of, you know what, y'all, what y'all are doing is not right, because normally departments, they play that kind of game. The idea that he was playing a game was reinforced because he came out and he invited us for lunch. Like, why don't you all come have lunch with us? I said, no, information first. Still further, he went on into intimidation. He says, you know what, these RTIs are done for people to take revenge. I have so many cases, so many filed cases against me, but I never lost. And the only way to play that game is not by going offensive, it's by saying, you're right. So you just reinforce the idea that I choose the difference between me and any average person. I'm aware of the games people play. And I choose my games wisely. I don't get into games that are non-productive or waste time. So ladies and gentlemen, when I sat to write this, after writing these 12 steps, I went I thought to myself, man, do I do all this every time I meet somebody? The truth is, all this is subconscious. Learning these techniques is very easy. The challenge, besides the distraction and the simplicity of it, which I mentioned earlier, the challenge of it is not letting your ego get involved by keeping all its avatars like judgment, envy, jealousy, keeping that all out of it. Because as you read people, you're going to get a little overconfident, and you might have an ego over others. So keeping that ego out is one of the challenges that we face. And what I've done here, thanks to Amay, who's given the opportunity for me to come here, is that he's given me the opportunity to sit and bring into my conscious, break it down, to write what I normally do in my unconscious mind. I don't do all these things all the time, but these things keep going on as antivirus programs in my head. And because of that, I had to sit and write all these 12 steps down, which was a great experience for me, and I would like to thank Amay for that. And this, as you go into the depths of all this that I have gone through, learning these technologies that I have learned, what's going to happen is you're going to see things very differently. You're going to experience life in a little different way. At the same time, you'll be able to understand people a lot better. You won't have a simple message on Facebook or WhatsApp like, a friend of mine had put a message the other day stating that it's time to move on. And I didn't know her quite well. So I replied back stating that, is everything okay? Do you need somebody to talk to? So she met me the next day and she spoke for 4 hours and she was telling me her issues. All she needed was somebody to hear, not for me to tell her anything. But because of all this that I've learned on how to read people, I was able to understand her plea for help from anybody by just reading 5 words. And I was glad to be able to help her, and she probably got some relief from that. And this is not some kind of superpower or any skill like a magic show or something. It's a gathering all this knowledge is a privilege that we get. And I hope that you all join in learning about these technologies a little more, so that you can go on to develop and help people by reading anyone like a book. Thank you very much.